And I will say, we're talking about it. So it's like, it sounds like, oh, all of that just happened. There were tears. There were moments of sitting, feeling unbelievable doubt,
Mm,
and I think we're all humans and we look at other people like, oh, they have it all together. They have it all figured out. But it is just, I think it's always being a part of the unfolding and partnering with that space
yeah.
between the idea, the gestation, and the vision of what it looks like, and allowing that to grow inside of you.
Mm,
And as you do that, and maybe we'll get into this, but what I help people with is the disconnect between that, when doubt takes you down, or when some other person says something and then you feel shameful, or like, maybe, who am I to think I'm able to, I mean, we could literally list a million of how these things come up, and sometimes we don't even hear them. They just make us sink, and next thing, we're opening the refrigerator looking for something to eat, or turning on Netflix thinking, well, tomorrow I'll think about my niche, to go with your analogy. Tomorrow I'll figure out this thing that I feel that's bigger than I am.
mm.
Because when we're hijacked, we don't really know we're being hijacked. And that part of our brain, it sounds reasonable to go get a piece of cake, because we usually don't get carrots when we're coping.
No.
A few people do, maybe, like, but, you know.
This is Joy Roland, and you are listening to the Joyful Money Podcast. This is episode number 88, From Emotional Bankruptcy to Abundance with Whitney Riley. Welcome to Joyful Money, the podcast where we focus on making money the joyful way. We are done with the stress and anxiety that typically come with making money. We'll feature extraordinary and inspiring business owners who are making a huge impact by sharing their gifts and talents with the world. Pour yourself a cup of coffee or tea and let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Joyful Money Podcast. I am so excited for today's episode. I have a very special guest. My special guest is Whitney Riley. Welcome to the show, Whitney.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So, why don't you start by introducing yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm Whitney Riley, and I work as a transformational mentor. And I kind of came up with that title because what I do is at a crossroads, kind of between coaching. Some people think it looks like therapy, even though it is not. And basically, I help people become the captain of their own ship. And I've spent 25 years developing what works best by choosing the kind of less known path to transformation in relationships, money, weight, tremendous grief, health, and wellness. I had an autoimmune disorder and anxiety disorder many, many years ago. And after taking one pill, I was like, there's got to be another way. This can't be the end of my story here. So I developed all of these things so that people can get their dreams, become healthier, make more joy in their life, right? Because
Mm,
joyful money is attached to a joyful being. And
yes.
and and that is how we get in there and we clean out all the cobwebs and start flowing with joy before the money comes, and then quicker, faster, better money, love, and just feeling good inside your body.
Mm, I love that. Now, before we talk about the a lesser known path you just described, can you tell us how was your journey like coming to this choice of becoming a transformational mentor? How did you choose this niche for yourself?
It wasn't a straight path. Now that I'm
Mm,
doing it, I can link it back to being 2 years old. And it's like, of course, this is where I was going. But along the way, as many of us know, there are moments where we have to take a leap and we have choices that don't look like they make sense. And mine, in school, my first love was physics, and I thought I was going to be this crazy, subatomic particle physicist. And then after 4 years at university, I took a painting class and saw kind of like this whole trajectory of my life turn, and it made no sense. And I'd rejected art, even though I was like, everyone, you should be an artist. I rejected it because I'm going to cut my ear off, be penniless, be, crazy, even though I liked crazy scientists, crazy artists didn't sound so great for whatever reason. But I changed everything and I started over and got a painting degree. Anyway, and then I went back later for psychology, a PhD in clinical psychology, which after 1 year, I was like, this is not it. This is not it. Like, I don't want to, it's great. It is a wonderful and necessary field. But for me, I was in that lesser known path where it's like, I don't want to put people in boxes. I want to help people break free from the box. And at that point, I'd already started having those transformations for myself.
Wow.
And then it took a while longer to finally break into this, many other adventures, entrepreneurial adventures. I was in the publishing industry, traveled all over the world, talking to incredible people, much like sitting here talking to you. And as you know, when we communicate, we inspire. We can shut people down, or we can inspire their next most wonderful moment. And many people did that, or the conversations did. So eventually I arrived here.
Oh, wow. Wow, what a profound story. And I think what you just described is exactly how most entrepreneurs experience life. Like, you have this nudge inside of you for something more, and you keep searching. Like, we're always on this path of searching for what the answer is. And if you're lucky and blessed enough to be consistent in the search, you finally find what gives you peace. Like, it might be a business, might be a choice of service where you feel like, oh, this is what my purpose is on earth. So I like how you describe that story, because many of our listeners are maybe in that stage where they are trying to figure out, okay, so what's my business idea? What's my niche? I know I want to do a business, but I'm struggling with deciding which niche to choose. So I like how you describe that very much.
Yeah. And I will say, we're talking about it, so it's like, it sounds like, oh, all of that just happened. There were tears, there were moments of sitting, feeling unbelievable doubt, and I think we're all humans, and we look at other people like, oh, they have it all together, they have it all figured out. But it is just, I think it's always being a part of the unfolding and partnering with that space between the idea, the gestation, and the vision of what it looks like, and allowing that to grow inside of you. And as you do that, and maybe we'll get into this, but what I help people with is the disconnect between that, when doubt takes you down, or when some other person says something and then you feel shameful, or like, maybe, who am I to think I'm able to, I mean, we could literally list a million of how these things come up, and sometimes we don't even hear them. They just make us sink, and next thing, we're opening the refrigerator looking for something to eat, or turning on Netflix thinking, well, tomorrow I'll think about my niche, to go with your analogy. Tomorrow I'll figure out this thing that I feel that's bigger than I am. Because when we're hijacked, we don't really know we're being hijacked. And that part of our brain, it sounds reasonable to go get a piece of cake, because we usually don't get carrots when we're coping.
Yep.
A few people do, maybe, like, but, and it seems reasonable because we're hijacked. We're not in our prefrontal cortex.
So let's talk about this lesser known path you just described, and let's talk about your work and how you help your clients achieve the transformation that they want. Like, I want us to explore your unique way of helping your clients see and travel down that lesser known path.
Okay. There was this great group in New York I worked with, and I think this is maybe a shorthand because it's a lot of information, right? But what we did was a simple exercise, and your listeners might want to take note. And this is a great exercise. It's called Foursquare. And you start in the first quadrant and you write what I want, and then all the reasons for what I want. Then you move to the second quadrant and you write all the reasons I'm afraid to get what I want. The third quadrant would be why I want to stay where I am. And the fourth quadrant is why I am afraid to stay where I am. This exercise, it can be extremely grounding, because the mind, which we give so much power to as something that we can't control, like going to get the cake or the chips or the whatever, or just distracting ourselves with daydreams, or staying in the planning phase, however the brain, it takes us on a ride and we think that's who we are. But the brain is more like a hand or a foot. It is here to serve you. But because we've given it the responsibility of being who we are, it is all over the place. It is literally all over the place. So by doing this, you basically have a map of how your brain stores opposites and keeps you stuck. And you will see the bigger fear of maybe the big one. When I worked with this group in New York, a lovely group of ladies, they range from probably mid to late 20s up until, I don't know, maybe 50. So it was a large range of people that were all kind of moving towards this entrepreneurial lifestyle and this sense of living with purpose, and also peeling away from certain ideologies that define their lives that they wanted to like just freedom from. And that was kind of the group. Almost everybody had this fear of being seen. And the stories were, well, my dad yelled at me. So in my childhood, I traded being seen for safety. So if you made that trade when you were 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 5-year-old, whenever, and then develop this new sense of self that's super sneaky, you're still playing that pattern in the background for survival, and that pattern now fights against you. And that we sit and we're like trying to cut this part of ourselves out, condemning ourselves. That part needs you to go rescue it and bring it into the current reality. Like you show yourself and go, hey, look, you kept me safe, but now I'm all grown up and I didn't know I was fighting against you. And I'm here to let you off the hook so that now you can go back to being a little girl being safe. And I know how to keep you safe and reparent basically you in that way. So that compulsion to stay hidden, even though we want to shine, all of a sudden is resolved. And now you get to work in the present moment in whatever way. And these are words. It is so powerful.
Yeah.
It looks like a miracle every single time I work with people. It is amazing. No more white knuckling it.
Yeah, no more white knuckling it. So then, oh gosh, I love this so much. So it's the fear of being seen. And the fear of being seen, especially for us business owners, can be very detrimental to our success, because many times you have to be seen by potential clients before they can hire you, right? And this has kept a lot of people stuck because they're afraid of being seen online. That's a huge one, right? So someone is listening right now and they don't do social media, they don't promote themselves because they have this crippling fear of being seen. I love this exercise you've just given us. On the 4 quadrants, you said what I want. And the second one is all the reasons I'm afraid. The third is why I want to stay where I am. And the fourth is why I'm afraid to stay where I am. So if someone is listening right now, they have this crippling fear of being seen, how can they start the journey of losing that fear?
Well, looking at this is a thing that most of us don't want to look at. or our brain
Mm.
thinks we don't want to see it. Because when you know what's
Mm.
there, then you know. There's
Yes.
right. So doing this exercise is the first step. It's very validating and then illuminating, because some of us, just by knowing, then we can put ourselves in gear, right?
Mm.
And then, some of us might look at it and go, it's not worth the risk, and then feel happier being where they are.
Mm. Mm.
Um, some of us can start working through them. Now, I am certified in EFT, which I think is the holy grail of almost all work that anyone could possibly do. I combine it with lots of things, imago dialogue with self. There's so many things. Like, so it was a lifetime sort of
Yeah.
adventure that I didn't really know. I was collecting all these little bits and pieces of finding what works and then making it work faster. Because, like, one of my clients, she did a 12-week program with me, and at the end she said, "Whitney, I processed more in 12 weeks than I did in 25 years of therapy."
Wow. Wow.
And I'm not throwing shade on therapy. I think therapy is the greatest thing in the world, and everybody should have a therapist. It's wonderful to sit and be able to have conversations about your life with somebody who can help guide you. But so the transformational mentoring is different. It is like, okay, I've had enough spinning my wheels. I'm
Mm.
ready to let go of the stories that make me feel like I need to hide, that I
Mm.
need to fight for approval and keep burning my business down and starting over so I can have this emotional cycle that happened because my alcoholic father never turned and looked at me. Or, I carry this guilt about my mother and I need my father's approval so badly, even though the whole world wants to hire me. I'm so able to serve. Because my father doesn't turn to what I produce and say it's great, I stay stuck.
Mm.
And I'm talking about real clients that got real palpable results. This one woman in her 60s kept trying to create businesses, and she would build the website. It's in my book. She would build the website and then rip it down, build the website, rip it down. She didn't even come to me for money. She came to me to not smoke, to quit smoking. She quit smoking in her first session. Her second session, basically, we helped her lose 700 pounds of narcissists. Every single person was controlling her, family members. The person where she lived, the landlady, was this wild narcissist, like keeping her on a string. And then she has a history. Both her parents were narcissists. And she did the work, and they just started dropping like flies. And all of a sudden, she was able to start seeing her own life. So by the end, she was radically transformed, radically. And now she has her website up, she serves people, she brings so much value she transforms lives permanently.
Mm.
She works with
Mm.
little kids, and she is able to change the trajectory of these children's lives, changing the trajectory of the whole family,
Mm.
because she's able to be seen.
Mm.
Because in
Mm.
all of that, she also had these really abusive family members. So she thought if she put the website up there, if she put herself, they would come and sabotage her.
Mm.
She tripled her income. Tripled.
Wow.
It's really big.
Yeah. How I'm so fascinated by what you just said. She quit smoking in one session. How did that work?
Actually, it probably is the scariest session I've ever had in my life. And it was a long time ago. And I still talk to her today. And she's like, "Whitney, I just love my life." I know it's abstract and it doesn't help people choose to do this work. But when I think about doing this work, I don't doubt myself anymore. I love my life. I'm able to just trust myself and love my life. But in that first session, we went in and like we partner with the body, right? Because the brain keeps us in survival mode just up here. And so we start to partner with the body. And she went into this place. She had survived cancer 20 years before. And basically she had her eyes closed and she was like, I just woke up the beast. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I was like, this is so scary. Anytime the C word comes up, and she was just so filled with her own fear of looking at the cancer coming back.
Mm.
And then quickly it was about this feeling that her body had betrayed her. And then the stuffing it down. It's like, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to control it.
Mm.
So smoking was this way to control not feeling the fear and feeling more powerful than some random diagnosis taking her down.
Yeah. Wow.
And so,
Wow.
when one session we were able to, and then at the end she goes, I feel like my whole body is hugging me back, like we're back in love with each other.
Mm.
She just quit smoking.
Wow. I'm sure many people are being blessed and inspired by what you're sharing, and I'm so excited about doing this episode. Now, I want you to talk a little bit about emotional bankruptcy and how we can get back in touch with our emotions so that we can create the wealth and abundance we truly want.
So the wonderful thing about emotions is that we all have them. And the thing that links all parts of our lives is through our thoughts and emotions. And what comes first, the thought or the emotion? It's kind of the chicken or the egg, right? Because the thought fuels the next emotion, which fuels the next thought. So we can get stuck in these loops. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not old enough. I'm not like the white bearded dude on a mountain, like whatever it is, right? Like, but if you have any of those in you, or my sister's going to come and sabotage me, and you get stuck spinning your wheel because it's like you have the thought, you have the emotion, maybe then you're like, well, I'm going to do this thing to get out of this, and then you do it, but then that thought comes and chases you, because if it's in there, it's always going to win no matter what affirmation you do, what the law of attraction, all of these tools. If it is vibrating under there in a need to keep you safe, it's always going to win, right? So the emotional bankruptcy comes from feeling like that is who we are. And it isn't, and it never has been, and it never will be. It is an experience. And it's a powerful experience. But when we're able to start leaning in toward it and loving it and understanding it in its context, and then being the support it needs and the validation, we're able to bring these fractured off pieces, keeping us in many different emotional bankrupt loops. We bring them back into wholeness. We keep the superpower that we learned coping, but now we partner with those parts, and in the process develop a sense of self-love that is hard to put into words, that we've always been looking for. And then that also helps us not attract people who are maybe emotional vampires, or they like to give 20 but take 80%.
We all know those kind of people, right?
Yeah, and bless them. We're one of those to someone else when we're out of whack and we don't know how to find that part and bring it back into wholeness. There's no blame. And again, it isn't who we really are. It is an experience that then takes over the show. So that emotional bankruptcy then starts to get clouded with shame and self-condemnation, judgment of others, and it keeps us more and more isolated and out of joy.
Yeah. Like, I love this so much, and I'm learning a lot, even just for myself. Now, this work is work that needs to be done because many people, including myself, we have emotions that we try to run away from. And sometimes it's hard to fess up to this, right? It's hard to acknowledge that this is actually keeping us stuck financially because we have emotions and we try to suppress those emotions because they are not comfortable emotions. And then we buffer, whether we use food, alcohol, drugs. I used to buffer with food. I still do sometimes, just to numb that emotion. So your work is helping people do this work, right? Do this inner work of coming to terms with your body and stop operating from up here, right? Dropping into our body and acknowledging all of those emotions, resolving them so that we can move forward. So, Whitney, I want you to tell us your work and how people can take this to the next level. I know you've graciously given us a freebie, which I'm going to add the link to the show notes. It's the 10 steps to transformation. So that's a good place for anyone listening to start. But describe your offers. Like, what's the next step if someone wants to take this to the next level?
One of the things I just want to say before that is another coping mechanism to pay attention to is whenever we're blaming. That is just as addictive as food, alcohol, drugs, doom scrolling, all the things. But blaming is a bit, when we're blaming someone else for our feelings or our stuckness or whatever, it is a good cue to maybe sit down and do a four square. Or sit down, give yourself a hug because you're feeling misunderstood and hurt, or whatever the story might be. You matter. Your story matters, right?
Yeah. And I love the term you used when you started the show. You said something about clearing out the cobwebs. I thought that was really interesting, to clear out the cobwebs, because historically there might be things we've dealt with, right? And there are cobwebs left. We need to go in and clear out the cobwebs. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. Basically, like, imagine dark little places in your attic or under the basement or in an old chest where maybe some stuff is in there and we just kind of put it out of the way. Well, a lot of those parts that are trying to save us are in those dusty old places filled with cobwebs. It's scary, it's gross, you don't want to go in there. But when you go in through the emotions, you clean it all out and then you bring light to the darkest places in your being. And then when it's all clean, you don't have to spend time hiding or managing, not going to the places that are filled with cobwebs, filled with fear, filled with pain that you never want to experience again. Because I know you asked me about how to contact me, and I really want to tell everybody, but there's so much I want to tell you.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So imagine waking up every morning needing to hold all of that in place, the cobwebby places, the dark places. That takes energy, effort, bandwidth, and you do that first before you start thinking about, oh, how am I going to grow my email list? How am I going to do those social media clips? And then those cobweb places are going, well, you're not skinny enough.
Yes.
You don't wear enough eye makeup. You're not bubbly enough, or whatever it is. One time, I had a lot of trouble putting myself out here. Like, you and I have done the work enough to be here, right? And I finally sat down and I did a list, kind of like Foursquare, but mostly I was like, let your mind go. Why? Give me legitimate reasons why I shouldn't do this. And I literally was like, I'm not old enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not man enough. I'm not female. I mean, the brain will do anything to keep you safe. It doesn't mean that it's making one iota of sense. Well, it's making sense itself, but it's not truthful. I did not spontaneously combust because I threw some less than ideal reels out on social media. I did it, and people were like, oh, you're so brave. That's amazing. And I inspired people and helped people. Wow. So the brain will tell you, the cobweb things will infect what you're trying to do while you're also managing it. So why do you think that at the end of the day, we've run around in circles, we haven't accomplished anything, and we're exhausted, and then we fall into the pizza, the bag of chips, the let's go meet for happy hour, anything but this, and you feel like you've done a ton that day because you have, but it was just surviving the fear of taking the next step.
Wow. Yeah. I can so relate to all of this, girl. If
I think we can.
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah,
not
like,
taught to believe in ourselves. Even if someone is like, go believe in you, go believe in you, I believe in you. But then it's like, well, but don't cry or go to your room.
mm,
Get that ketchup off your face. You're embarrassing me.
mm,
And that lodges in our body, plus all the other things. Stressed out, and there's no blame. We're all doing the best, and you can be the most perfect parents, and you can't control how it's received. There's always
yes,
work to be done. There's always work to be done if you choose to accept that. You don't have to, you know?
yeah. Like I've said this on this show a number of times, all of my insecurities for many years. Like you never see my picture online, you never see my video online. I felt I was too fat after my I had my daughter. I had difficulty shedding the weight, so I always saw myself as too fat. My accent was a very big one. I'm like, no one is going to understand how I speak. Like, so I was hiding, right? And now when I tell people, like, these were the things I faced, and these were the things I still face many times, and they're like, what are you talking about? We can understand you, right? Before not of 10 years, I had this drive to set up my business, but I kept saying, no one is going to understand me. I have a very terrible accent. I don't, English is not my first language. So, right. So I do understand. And that's why I said, girl, I can relate. Even today, even before I came on this Zoom call, I'm like, okay, how am I going to look today? Right. All of those insecurities. But I tell myself and I remind myself, just like you said, Whitney, I just tell myself, I love you, girl. I love everything you've achieved, right? And I genuinely mean that. And now I love myself so much. And it comes across the way I show up online. Doesn't matter what anyone thinks or says about me. I love myself and it shows. So I like that you're saying all of this today. I know someone is listening. They've been hiding, but they have this business idea. Hopefully, this will inspire them to take action. Very quickly,
The
Whitney.
world
Yes.
needs you. The world needs you. Someone even told me that yesterday. I have coaches,
Mm,
all of us, we're doing the best that we can, but go out there, find somebody, find me if you want, if you resonate, but find somebody to help you because the world needs you. And then I have this one extra part if you have more time to share, and it's what you just said, brought it up. You're perfect exactly as you are. You're perfect now.
mm,
You're not perfect 10 pounds lighter. You're going to be perfect if that happens. But in this moment, perfection already is in you and it has never been without you. It's a construct that perfection is, when I'm married, when I have the business, when I am the artist, when I am this or that or the other thing. And the brain will always keep you out of perfection if you believe perfection is on the outside. Please practice at least for 1 minute feeling what it feels to bring perfection in you because that is the only truth that exists. You could be a big bag of mess in every direction in your life and you
mm.
are perfect right there. Take a breath and breathe that truth in because it's already true. You're just looking for the next perfect moment.
Wow.
Perfection is here now. It
Mm,
walks with you every step of the way.
wow. Yeah. It's not outside of us, it's inside of us right now.
I know.
And this is why I love the kind of work we do, Whitney. So imagine if you didn't do the work you did, right? Imagine that lady who stopped smoking and now she helps kids, right? And she's been able to come out of her shell to do all of this work that she's doing in the world right now, right? So imagine if you allowed your insecurities to keep you playing small and you didn't show up to serve that woman who has now gone ahead to be the best version of herself and now she's making an impact in the world, right? So many times I encourage women, especially when you think of your insecurities, just think of the people you are depriving of your genius, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully that will motivate people to say, okay, the vision is bigger than myself. I will just come out and serve. So I love that you did the work you did. And that woman, she quit smoking, she transformed her life, and she's been able to do all of these amazing things. Now, I want you to tell us some of the other clients you have helped. who have experienced some financial breakthroughs?
Quickly, there was one woman who, I think I mentioned this, that her need for her father's approval kind of kept her from moving forward in her business. She was a high earning executive at a firm, quit in order for to start her own consultancy firm. And she basically had spent down her money, was attracting partners that were definitely, I give 20, I take 80, and I'm going to put you down constantly.
Mm.
And she was this tall, gorgeous woman from Africa with a lovely accent, beautiful accent. Like accents are amazing. I love accents. And after I think it was the first session, and her big goal working, I always ask somebody what their big goal is before they start the 12 weeks with me. And she was like, I need to get a client on retainer for $10,000 a month. After our first session, she came back and she's like, Whitney, I landed a client on retainer for $10,000 a month for doing 2 hours of work a week.
What?
Yeah. Another one, a guy who basically was in the room, but he had a belief that he wasn't appreciated. I can't remember. This was one of my oldest clients. He ended up like funding research projects for me to do this kind of big results work. We worked together. He wanted to double his income. We finally got there, and I just said, hey, you want to double it again? And he lost his mind, screamed at me, nothing is ever enough, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there like, and then all of a sudden we both started laughing because clearly that was some triggered response. And within 3 months, he doubled his income again. And shortly thereafter, is earning 7 times his original amount.
Wow.
Another woman who basically lived in chronic frustration, super servy, like did all this stuff, taught, managed, took care of her elderly mother, agreed to do property management for the estate and did all of this. She just was always burnt out basically and thought there was no other way, and kind of found me in a side, like was very skeptical and cynical. Basically, short story is we negotiated, she got paid twice as much for what she was doing for almost nothing, and negotiated back pay that she had agreed to do for free for $260,000 and got it easily. And now is just living again. It's this when you can trust yourself. And she's also a writer, and she writes back and she's like, Whitney, it's still unfolding. She goes, when I edit my work, I realize I used to edit it for approval from other people, and now I edit it for who I am and what my voice is, and it's amazing. Just like there are no words I can tell you about how this feels. And it's like, you don't know what being a mom's like until you're a mom, right? You can imagine it, but there are no words once you're just like, and people that they're either haven't had children or maybe they're pregnant and they're saying all this stuff and you're just like, wait till you get to this side. It's similar. It's very hard to know what it's like to not be imprisoned by the things that constantly keep you on marionette strings that you think are you, but they aren't. I don't know if that I go off on these tangents, but there are countless others that a person came to me with grief and ended up opening a side business, and like they're never been more wealthy in their life. So it doesn't have to be direct, like because your thoughts and emotions are connected to all aspects of your life. And when you love yourself and naturally have self-confidence, changes everything.
Yes. I love this so much. Like, I think I can go on for another hour. So I think
maybe we'll do it again.
So, yeah, we don't have to do it again. So Whitney, before I let you go, tell audience how they can take this to the next level.
Okay. If you want to just dip your toe in the water, there's a book that I just came out with this year. It's called Make Everything Easier. Get What You Want by Healing Hidden Resistance. It's on Amazon or it's on my website, which is, I think you're going to link it, but startyyourbetterlife.com. That's also where you can go and get the 10 steps for transformation. It'll just, you put in your email, it sends directly to you. You can fill out the contact there if you'd like to chat more. And if you feel like drawn to do the work, just reach out and we can start talking about what that looks like for you.
Wow. So, listeners, don't worry. I'm going to have all of those links in the show notes if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube, it's going to be in the description. I'll also add Whitney's website as well as her Instagram, so you can go connect with Whitney. Whitney, before you go, finally, can you tell us any last words you have for our listeners today?
Yes. You need you. You need you. You're important. You matter. If there is the spark of an idea, it might be yours to do, and the world needs you. The creative force doesn't make a mistake. You're perfect the way you are. And instead of always looking for someone else to tell you that you matter, or, I mean, that always feels good and it's great. But when you bring that in and you learn to know that you need you, all of that is just extra. And when the people that don't agree with you, that's okay. It's actually like, thank you for rejecting me, so I don't have to waste my time there.
Mm. Mm.
I don't
Wow,
know. Does that help?
yes, this has been a huge blessing for me, particularly. I've learned a lot, and I cannot wait for this episode to air because I'll go back and re-listen. It's been a joy and a privilege having you on the show. We'll definitely have you back because there's a lot more we can explore with Whitney. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today, Whitney.
Thank you for showing up for yourself so that we could share this time together.
So. Hey, very quickly before you go, if this podcast inspired or encouraged you in any way, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and share this with a friend. It means a lot to us, and we appreciate your kindness and generosity in doing this. We'll see you back here on the next episode. Bye-bye.